I've always been a gigantic Big East, supporter. So to see the Big East kind of lose quality outside of the St. John's, the UConns, the Villanovas, and then Seton Hall, and then there's just a gigantic dip. It's kind of sad to see. But, let's talk about the true bubble because this year the bubble has been kind of bad. We're talking about Santa Clara as a bubble team. We're never going to talk about a West Coast Conference team as a true bubble team in the past. But you talked about Ohio State. They have to play Indiana. They actually had a huge win, I believe, over Purdue recently. So that kind of, in my opinion, shored them up. I do think Ohio State has, whether or not they get a win or two in the conference tournament, that might be, good for them or not. But who it for you is like truly on the bubble in terms of their looking into the conference tournaments, they need to get that win no matter what. Because you look at a Seton Hall, a UConn win would have been great for them. Other than that, they don't really have a lot of opportunities in the Big East tournament. Look, if you look at the seeding for the Big East tournament, I mean, I'm picking St. John's over and UConn to be in that final. There isn't really any other wins that Seton Hall can get to shore up their resume. Are we talking about a win over DePaul if they're that 4 or 5 seed in the Big East tournament? I never knew that I'd be in a world where DePaul is considered a quality win, but truly there isn't a lot of opportunities for some of these bigger conferences unless you're on that, nine, if it's a bigger conference, unless you're on that 9, 8, 7, play a couple, good to mediocre teams to, get some momentum going.
Yeah, right. And, we bracketologists say it every year. Many more teams play themselves out of the conversation than play themselves into the conversation. And that is something that we are certainly seeing here down the line. Take a look at a team like USC. They were in it for a while. I had them as high as an 8 or a 9 seed at one point. All of a sudden, they lose 5 in a row. Chad Baker Mazara quits on the team.
Yeah.
And it's starting to look really bleak for USC unless they can win these last two and then probably also do something in the Big Ten tournaments. So there's your example of a team playing itself out. Obviously, I touched on Indiana, same situation. They've lost 4 in a row. I think it's really telling that they and Ohio State had exactly the same opportunity on Sunday, which is a protected seed coming to their own arena, a chance to notch a quad 1A win. Ohio State got it done, and Indiana didn't. They lost to Michigan State. Kind of shows the trajectory between where those two teams are. That Sunday could be the difference between Ohio State getting in and Indiana getting left out. So yeah, a lot of things still to be decided, but as I mentioned, a lot of these teams that we're looking at as bubble teams right now might not be that way a week from now when you consider the difficulty of the games coming up and of course the potential for bid thieves in conferences like the Atlantic 10 and the WCC and Mountain West that might steal a bid from a power conference team trying to sneak in. So certainly will be something to keep an eye on the next week and a half here.